So, welcome to another edition of the Common Constitutionalist weekly podcast, or weekend podcast. I'm Brent Smith, I'm the Common Constitutionalist, back in the outdoors again, the great outdoors. And it's remarkable out here, I guess. It's like 47 degrees, and for us up here in the Arctic, in New Hampshire, it might as well be 65 or 70. It's unbelievable. When you get used to negative temperatures, single digits, teens every day, the highs are 15 degrees, the lows are negative, whatever the crap they've been. It doesn't take much of a warm-up to make it feel real good. I mean, it's snowy out and whatnot, but I can live with that. If this is the balance of winter, I'll take it. So today we're going to be talking about maybe 3 topics if I get to them, maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. The first, well, in no particular order, we have to talk about the dreaded shutdown. Yes, of course, the shutdown. Whoop-de-doo. We're also going to talk about the reality of immigrants and refugees, and when it actually sinks into the left, that this is the reality of refugees and immigrants invading a nation. And then the Democrat infighting. Coming up to the 2018 midterm elections, things are not all sweetness and light in the Democrat Party and at the DNC. So we're going to talk about that today on the Common Constitutionalist Great Outdoor Edition. Yeah, baby. Oh, go Patriots. Ha! Yeah, see ya.
You are listening?
No, you limey. They're not listening. They're watching.
The Common Constitutionalist, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
Okie dokie. So I'm sitting here in a park, on a park bench like a homeless person. Maybe I'll sleep here tonight. It's very pleasant, so maybe I'll do that. At any rate, so let's start this thing off with the dreaded shutdown. Oh no? Can you feel it? The government shut down. Wow. Anybody notice? It's a freaking Sunday. Did anybody notice the government was shut down? And why haven't you noticed? Any wonder? Wonder why? Because it's shut down every blanking weekend. The government shuts down every weekend. That's why you haven't noticed. You know what else is shut down? My company, my day job. If you were to call in yesterday, Saturday or Sunday, and you call into my company, we're in shutdown for the weekend. We work Monday through Friday. So if you call in, you're going to get a message, something like, I'm sorry that we're closed for the weekend, call back next week, or something to that effect. And okay, so we're open Monday, and maybe the government's closed Monday. But what happened last weekend? Remember, last weekend, if you called the government on a Monday, they were closed on Monday too. So they were closed on Saturday. They were shut down on Sunday, and they had a government shutdown on Monday. So 3 days in a row, the government shut down. Anybody notice? Any problems? No, of course not. So what do we do about the dreaded shutdown? Actually, what do we do about the freaking slowdown? I'm so sick of this crap that everybody has just bought into the Democrat talking point, and that's where you begin. You begin with a shutdown. You begin with a Democrat leftist talking point, and that's the starting point for Fox News and for every other news outlet. It's not a slowdown, it's a shutdown. Of course it's not. It's a slowdown of about 15 to 20%. Even the leftist media, when they look into this, has to begrudgingly admit that the government doesn't shut down. That 79 to 85% of the government continues to operate during a shutdown. That's some freaking shutdown. So anyway, what's shutting down? I guess we all need to know that. I guess, I don't know, it's essential for us to know exactly what's shutting down so we can feel bad about it, or some dang thing. Now remember, I'm gonna quote some stuff from CNN And this is obviously the leftist website, and they love the shutdown. Like Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they all love the daggum shutdown. They live for shutdowns because they can blame Republicans. Historically, they've been able to blame Republicans, and Republicans cave and get them whatever the heck they want, and then their Democrats will make promises that they never commit to later, and that's the way it works. That's the game that's always played, the shutdown game. So CNN reports that at the peak of the 2013 government shutdown, which lasted all of about, I think it was 16 days it lasted, about 850,000 employees were furloughed per day, according to the Office of Management and Budget. So what about the White House? What's shut down in the White House? Let's find out, shall we? The White House said Friday that 1,056 members of the executive office of the president would be furloughed and 659 considered essential. Yes, of course they're considered essential, essentially doing who knows what, would continue to report for work. Monday, the White House said, is a contingency plan posted to its website Friday. But the furloughed workers have to come in on Monday, and they're only allowed to stay for 4 hours to engage in, quote, shutdown activities, unquote, likely setting off out-of-office messages or explaining how to carry on functions to colleagues who are not being furloughed, because that's so bloody essential. The military. Everybody cries boo-hoo about the military. Well, the fact is the military is getting paid through February 1st. So if the shutdown doesn't go any further than that, no one's going to know. No one's going to be the wiser. So the military is considered essential, and this is CNN now, is considered essential and will still report for duty. However, the troops, including those in combat, will potentially not be paid during a shutdown. Well, that's true and not true. If the shutdown goes on for weeks, about 1.3 million active duty military will expect it to work potentially without pay. Potentially, okay? The military is currently paid through, obviously, February 1st, as I said. In addition, many civilian Department of Defense employees will not work during the shutdown, including instructors at military academies and maintenance contractors. So, I've got an idea. Why don't we, as private citizens, ones who love and revere the military, I'm former military, why don't we step in? If this does happen to go, the grunts, the guys on the ground, the soldiers, the NCOs, these guys will be more adversely affected because they don't get paid much to do what they do. And I could go on for hours about that, but I'm not going to bother. Even with combat duty pay, hazardous duty pay, it doesn't matter. They still don't get paid enough. But in any event, say the shutdown goes for 3 or 4 weeks. It isn't going to, but say it does. All right. What you do as a private citizen, we can help. We're the most generous people on the face of the earth, and we can help. Conservatives can help. What you do is you go to the closest military base, and you'll have essential people working there, and you find out the guys that are actually serving, particularly serving overseas, and they're leaving their spouses and girlfriends and children and whatnot behind, their families behind, to fend for themselves during the shutdown, if that happens to occur beyond February 1st, they will get hurt by this if it goes beyond February 1st. So here's what I suggest we all do. We go to our nearest military base, and you find a family to sponsor. Okay? You get them food. You get them stuff. You help them with their bills temporarily. You do whatever you can to help a single family. And if everybody pitched in to help a single family, everybody'd be covered. That's what you do. The private sector moves in. You don't have to do it. It doesn't need to be corporate sponsorship or any bloody thing. You just do this on your own because it's the right thing to do. I donate to my local National Guard armory. Every week I bring stuff by and give it to the guys. Why? Because. All right? Just because. That's my way of... I'm too ancient and decrepit to serve anymore, and so that's how I serve. I serve by helping out the guys. They're friends of mine, and I love to do it. I don't ask anything in return, despite them trying to give me stuff all the time. here, you got to take this as a thank you. No, just you do it. And that's what you do. Okay, so if this thing goes beyond February 1st, I want all you conservatives to get out there and sponsor a family. You don't have to do it. It ain't going to be for very long, okay? And you don't have to give much. It's going to be the thought that counts. Give them some food. Give them some cash. Give them something. Pay a bill. Pay an electric bill for them or something like that. It doesn't need to be anything big, 75 or 100 bucks for an electric bill, whatever the heck it happens to be. Help them out, okay? That's what we do. That's enough of that. Now, now remember, this is CNN. And what are they most concerned with? The Russia investigation. Trump collusion, right? So naturally, we're going to worry about, is the special counsel still going to be operating? Oh, perish the thought if they shut down, right? Well, lucky for us, Robert Mueller's Special Russia Investigation Council will continue to operate, a Justice Department spokesman told CNN. Hooray for the Special Counsel. Quote, all employees with the Special Counsel's office are considered exempt and would continue their operations in the case of a lapse in appropriation, unquote, the spokesperson said. Oh my gracious. What do you even say about that? The Special Counsel should be shut down, period. National parks. Of course, the national parks was a big flippin' deal the last time because Obama made it a big flippin' deal by publicly closing national park sites, the veterans sites and whatnot, to make a point. All right, to make a political point, because all the freaking Democrats are all about politics. They're all about the agenda, and they're all about promoting whatever. I just don't even want to go there. So the national parks, some of them will be closing, some of them won't, blah, 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 who cares? Do you know how to take care of the national parks? Do what Zinke and Trump are starting to do, revert them, take the national parks and revert them back to the states and the people. Then you don't have to worry about funding the national parks because you don't have to fund them anymore. Problem solved. Woohoo! The Postal Service, and then they include, because this is CNN, they include DC City Services. And right next to it I put, who cares, with 2 exclamation points. Because who cares about DC services? I don't care. I don't live in DC. Whoop-de-doo. Who cares? National malls, blah, 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 blah. So, rather than all the hand-wringing over this slowdown, shutdown, however you want to classify it, it should actually be a lesson to all of us. And the lesson is that we're just too darn dependent on government, and it's just not healthy. Any psychiatrist, if you went to see a psychiatrist about this, any psychiatrist would say that it's not healthy to be so dependent on one thing, on one person, on one thing, on one anything, all right? Yet here we are, we're all spastic about the government shutting down 15 to 20% of their, you know, whatever. But that's all it is, and that's the real oddity. It's like ailments. They're either physical or psychosomatic. A government shutdown is not a physical ailment to the vast, vast, vast majority of people. The government shutdown is a psychosomatic ailment, okay? It can't be treated with drugs. It needs to be treated with common sense and reason and logic. But that's, unfortunately, that goes out the window when you're talking about the political agenda. So we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back after the break to talk about the reality of refugees and immigrants in waves into one particular country, and they're finding out just how grand it is. We'll be right back.
You're watching the Common Constitutionalist video podcast.
Yeah, baby! Yeah.
All right, welcome back. This is Brent Smith, the Common Constitutionalist, with segment 2. Segment 2 I call The Reality of Refugees and Immigrants, and this is from Breitbart UK. So, it's interesting, you know how the left is always saying that we're a country of immigrants and you got to let them all in, and the DACA thing and the Dreamers and all this other nonsense and illegals. There are no illegals, and everybody was an illegal and blah, 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 and all the bull crap, all right? But the reality is when illegals start flooding into a country, now, the United States is a humongous country, all right? Land, geographically, we're huge. So we could accommodate a lot more aliens than the average nation, the average European nation. France, for example. France, Germany, the UK, Spain, Italy, all these countries, save for a few smart ones, allowed huge amounts of immigration and refugees into their country all at once. They just flooded in, and now they've got them. All right, so now they have to do something with them. Now, the liberals, the leftists in Europe were all for this. They thought it was just wonderful, the diversity. They just thought it was great, great stuff. And remember what I've always said and what many conservatives say, wacky crap like this, leftist crap, it always starts in Europe and then it immigrates over to Europe, to America, and it starts maybe on the left coast and the wave comes across to the east coast, and then we're blanketed by leftism. It's no different here, that they're starting to learn their lesson, and this is from France, from Gay Paris. Leftist, this is again, Breitbart UK. Leftist parents living in the heavily migrant population of 18th arrondissement of Paris, yeah, baby, of Paris are finding themselves conflicted as they want diversity, yet complain that schools in the diverse districts are failing, particularly 18th arrondissement. Yeah, my French is great. I took French, I think, too, in high school and college. I don't know why the crap I did that. But at any rate. So for many years, leftist couples have moved from the expensive center of Paris to the heavily migrant-populated district because they were leftists and they worship diversity. But now that they have children, they've found that the mixed schools in these areas to be substandard. Gee, son of a gun. Indeed, schools in the area have become known as ghetto schools, and many French now attempt to move their children elsewhere. What a stunner. Kind of like politicians, you know, the political elite in Washington, D.C. They all send their kids to private schools, yet they force the rest of us buzzards into public schools, into these ghetto substandard schools. Living in the ghetto. So anyway, they want to move their children elsewhere, and the French newspaper Libération reports the paper, which conducted an investigation into the issue, claims that leftist parents do not want to sacrifice their child to their beliefs, and many parents are putting the success of their children above their multicultural ideas. So look, when the rubber hits the road, and you have to fend for your family and look out for your young ones, your liberalism seems to go out the window. Isn't that remarkable? And rising unemployment in France has also led to parents becoming increasingly obsessed with getting their children into preferred schools so they can get a good education so they won't be part of the unemployed in France. Funny how this stuff works. You know what I'm saying? So this person, Julien Grenet, a teacher at the Paris School of Economics, it's probably a bit of an oxymoron, but whatever. Grenet said that the segregation of schools along cultural and ethnic lines is unlikely to change. Of course it's not going to change, because the immigrants and refugees don't wish to be French citizens, no more than they wish to be American citizens, no more than they wish to be German citizens. They just want a place to live and collect freebies and go to school for free and get everything else for free and live in relative solitude so they don't get shot at in wherever the crap they're, whatever asshole country they're from. Excuse me. So anyway, he says that we, quote, we have reached such a gap between some schools it is difficult to go back and reintroduce the mixture. Yes, of course. Of course, then again, you could do like we did, and you could have forced busing. That worked out so well. in the past, and that would be great. So the northern Paris districts, of which the 18 arrondissement is part, have become increasingly more migrant populated over the last several years, leading to a radical shift in culture. That's true, and you can go to many a city like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Dearbornistan, and those places, and you'll be lucky to have somebody speak in English. You'll certainly be lucky to see an American, and they don't or be privy to American culture, because they're not interested in assimilation at all. And these people are finding these out. I love these freaking liberals. I would love to say to these liberals exactly what I've said before in the past to these weenie liberal politicians in this country. If you want a refugee so bad, if you want an illegal immigration or a dreamer to come in, you sponsor them. Full boat. Take them into your house. Let them live there. You know, you Democrat senators and congressmen, you know, maybe you've got a teenage daughter that lives with you in the house. And take in a couple of 17-year-old Mexican immigrants. Do that, because they just are here to improve themselves. They want to get a good education. You don't have a thing to worry about. Nothing to fear here. Do that. See how far you get. See how far you get if you see how much obfuscation you'd have if you suggested such a thing to a Democrat. We'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back to our third and final segment, and I like this topic. This is basically Democrat infighting continues, and this is from an email I get from the Response Action Network. I don't even know who they are or how they got a hold of me, but sometimes they've got some good stuff. I think I've quoted from them before. At any rate, they write in my email alert that conventional wisdom dictates that in 2018 midterm elections should be kind to the Democrats. Historically, it's been that way. It's not a partisan point, but simply history. And they are absolutely right. It is just simply history. The party of an incumbent president loses congressional seats in midterm elections. The losses typically range from 20 to 40 seats, sometimes more, sometimes less. That's true. Given history is generally on their side, why are Democrats still fighting so much among themselves? It appears, among other squabbles and missteps, the wounds of the 2016 primary fight between Hillary Clinton and feeling the burn Sanders refused to heal. Ain't that the truth? Case in point, the infighting inside the Democrat National Committee. This is from the Politico, who has never been kind to Republicans. Unless you're a political establishment hack, then you run to the Political to complain about conservatives. The DNC has become every frustrated Democrat's favorite piñata and a symbol of everything that went wrong in 2016, and ain't that the truth? What a dysfunctional organization the DNC is right now. The Sanders-Clinton hostilities have taken on a new form. The tension now is over whether Sanders should hand over his massive voter list to the committee, as Tom Perez, the chairman of the DNC, the hack, has asked, and whether the committee has gone far enough to overhaul internal rules that Sanders' forces are convinced rigged the nomination for Clinton. What do you mean convinced? Of course they did. With the help of Debbie Blabbermouth Schultz and a handful of other Clinton hacks. Neither side is satisfied, and words like crazy still doesn't get it, and in one case, Judas, are tossed around to describe people in the opposite camp. They continue. The relationship between Tom Perez and Representative Keith Ellison, Democrat of Minnesota, the former rival who Perez named deputy chair in an attempt to ease tribal infighting, remains chilly, with periodic explosive fights over party strategy and appointments. Quote, functioning unity is something we've got to build back over time, unquote, Ellison said after praising Perez. What a joke. He hates Perez, and Perez hates him. because Perez is a Clinton rump swab and Ellison is a Bernie Sanders socialist jackweed. Whatever. So the election calendar and the need to show results may mute some of the rifts, could, but we remain somewhat amazed that over a year after Clinton's loss and over 18 months after she defeated Sanders, Democrats are still out to get each other. Of course they are. They hate each other. And as proof, the Response Action Network actually quotes a lefty, I mean we're talking far left socialist website called the Washington Babylon, where a female person, a contributor, wrote in and just scorched Hillary and everybody that she knows. All the Hillary people, just scorched them all, just can't stand them. And that's the way these Bernie people, man, they've got firmly held beliefs, and they think Hillary was a sellout, which she was, and that's the rift between the Bernies, the true believer socialists, and the Hillary Clinton White House for sale people. Anything for a price. Never the twain shall meet with these two. It ain't going to happen. So Response Action Network writes that it's really quite funny to read and instructive too. Away from the DC bubble, the fighting, hurt feelings, distrust, and general loathing between Democrat factions is real, and it's nasty. And does it mean Republicans are shoo-ins in this November? Absolutely not. We've got to fight for every vote. Conservatives got to get out there. We got to promote these conservative candidates, and we got to win, win, win. Foot a gipper, baby. What was that? Leaf going by? The great outdoors, man. Yeah, I love it. So, I guess the question is could the Dems, are they likely to, or could they sweep the GOP this November? Could happen, but they're in deep duty, man. Nobody really likes the Republicans, the congressional Senate Republicans. They don't like them. The RNC is hated by conservatives and a lot of Republicans. Yet, the DNC is just that much worse. The RNC, the Republicans are fundraising at a pace of 3 to 1. They're outpacing the Democrats. The Democrats, the DNC is virtually broke right now thanks to Hillary and Obama. They stole all their money, they took it and they used it for themselves. They didn't get the DNC involved. It wasn't Democrats, it was Hillary and it was Obama. That's what it was all about when it was those two. And the Democrats are suffering mightily for it. And then they go and they screw off, a good deal of their party, the Bernie Socialist Party, the wing, and this is where you end up with a party completely in disarray, and it couldn't happen to a better party, as far as I'm concerned. So, I guess the finality of this thing is, why is this happening? Why is it happening to the Democrats? Well, the Dems have, in my opinion, they've lost their message. The Dems used to be all about the proletariat versus the bourgeoisie. The proletariat, the working folks versus the suits, the one percenters, okay? They were the wrench turners versus the suits, the office personnel, the management, okay? They've lost that. And now basically, instead of catering to blue-collar workers, the wrench turners, they're catering to illegal aliens and everyone else who wants giveaways. Well, people like free stuff. Of course they like free stuff. But these blue-collar union guys, the wrench turners, the Reagan Democrats, for want of a better term, they take pride in their work. Okay, they don't want to just lay about and get a bunch of freebies and a bunch of giveaways. They want to go to work. They want to get their hands dirty, and they want to feel like they've accomplished something, just like you, me, and every other Republican. That's just the way it works. And the Democrats have lost them because they're catering to the socialist wing. They're catering to the layabouts and the people that just want the free stuff. And that ain't going to get anyone anywhere. The only thing they've got at this point is that they hate Trump. That's it. That's the only thing they got. And if they can't improve on that, I don't think it's going to be the whitewash and everybody thinks it's going to be. So this is the Common Constitutionalist. This is Brent Smith. I'm the Common Constitutionalist. Signing off, and we'll talk at you next week. Weather permitting, I'll be out here again. This was great. I like being out here rather than inside, despite the stupid wind. See ya.